Hello, hello, my friends. It is Aldo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
On which planet did
I
Luke
can tell
Skywalker
you everything
and Ben Solo
this planet,
confront the Knights of Ren in
except
the
its
second
motherfucking name.
Buy merch. Your winner by way of technical knockout.
We have some beautiful musicians.
I am the king. I am the reigning champion. I will always be above you. I am bigger than you. I am wiser than you. I am stronger than you. I am better than you. I am God.
Hi, I'm Jared, the Trivia Loser Jedi.
And I'm Scooter.
And we're here to tell you that we aren't that great at trivia, and I mean we're downright poo-poo at it. Ever since then I've been dogging Scotty to step back in the ring with me. No questions about Elfrona will be asked, and it'll be a good time this April. Now I have this like imaginary rivalry with you in my fucking head, where it's like, I want J-Ro!
Jared, you lost to me in trivia. You're a loser. You're a loser. I will not. You lost to me in trivia.
Jared lost to me in trivia. That charlatan friend, mind you, who has been ducking me and running from me for years now.
Your lust for J-Ro will destroy you.
And you will learn to rue the day you underestimated the power of the Buy Republic.
Is this your king? Is this your king?
Think about the things you applied to content creating and the things that you maybe have held you hold to a high standard that people also love, and there's that one little dark spot in all of this, and you're like, man, I can't believe that I've gotten this far and just being a part of a bigger community, but there's this one little black spot in this beautiful Monet of a painting, and it's just the fact that I kicked your ass in trivia. Literally nothing makes me happier.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Jared, the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and we are here to talk about Season 2 of The Bad Batch. If you go back and you listen to our review of Season 1 of The Bad Batch, you will see it was not a show that a lot of the Knights were super duper into. If you go back to that, I'm pretty sure Levi was on that episode, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how long ago that was, which is crazy to think about. But all that to say, I have very different feelings about Season 2 of The Bad Batch. I'm very excited to get into them on this episode. And of course, I am not alone. I am joined, as always, by the Italian stallion, the one-eyed knight, the lore keeper himself, Connor Giacchetti.
What's up?
Fuck going on? We also have
how's it going?
We also have the Mando himself here. We have Spencer Simpson.
Connor, did I hear you got a new watch?
Yes.
Oh,
Dude,
okay.
this is insane. It tracks so much stuff. I'm freaking out, man.
Connor,
I love
Connor's
it.
stunting with the ice on his wrist.
I just
Connor, that was
like,
adorable.
as someone who's so like obsessed with the data analytics and science of running, this watch is like meant for me.
That makes us all very happy for you. Connor Chikiti, PhD in running. We also have we have the new guy. He's new here. We have our intern, Kason Breon.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. How's it going?
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Sensational. We have yeah, I'll play it.
Sensational. That's his word.
We have a sensational so early. We won't even have the full panel set up. And our special guest for this week, dear friend of the show, commissioner of Epic Confrontations, host of Star Wars in a Galaxy, we have Eli.
What's going on, everybody? Nameplate I'm rocking that I'm a Resistance stan because I just watched more of Resistance today, and then Jared gave me crap about it.
I didn't give you crap about it. You love Resistance, and because you are the young buck of our little friend group, I feel inclined to give you the hardest time possible about it. It'll put some hair on your chest, young man. Little bit of housekeeping before we get started here. This episode will be coming out after the fact, but for anybody watching back who hasn't seen it yet, Connor and I will be on a live stream for the 100th episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. So if you didn't catch the live stream, go back and watch the replay where we will be with Eli celebrating 100 episodes of his show. Congratulations on that, buddy. Very excited to, in real time, like at time of record, that will be happening tomorrow. So we're very excited for that. Patrons will be hearing this early, so you better be there for the stream. You have no excuse. Obviously, you've seen the promo quintillion times, but April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the rematch of the century is upon us. Me versus Scotty J-Ro in a 5-round bare-knuckle trivia brawl right in the very studio where he humiliated Spencer and I. I'm here, and I'm back for revenge, and you all better be watching live and rooting for me this time. Rooting for me, rooting for our dear Lord Cookie Cop as well. Speaking of the Bombad cast, yes, for the By Republic, for all of it. Speaking of Bombad cast, tonight when you're seeing this in the main feed, myself, Trey Mitchell, Bill Sheehy of Skywalking Through the League, Michael McCoy of All Remaining Systems, and I don't know if I said myself or not, we will all be on the Bombad cast live in person in the room to talk about whatever the hell happened on Mando this week. Again, we're saying this on Saturday the 1st, so I have no goddamn clue.
To talk about how hard Bryce Dallas Howard inevitably killed it.
Oh, is this Bryce Dallas Howard's episode?
This is Bryce's week, yeah.
Oh, shit. We're in for a... All right. Well, Ms. Dallas Howard has never disappointed, so very excited for that. So check all that out.
In the heat of battle, she don't miss.
Look at Eli setting up clips.
This motherfucker don't miss.
The bad version.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
In the heat of controversy, he don't miss.
No.
I didn't know that was actual clip. I just know you've texted it and sent it in group chats to me so many times.
Oh yeah, no, I've always had that. I got a bunch of new versions of clips because StreamYard has an update that happened a while ago where a bunch of our clips kept getting cut off. Like Future got cut off when he said sensational. It's for the shorter ones. Like there is no respite for Alex Jones screaming for like 40 minutes straight. That one does not get cut off, but sensational got cut off. We had got that dog in him clip that would never finish. You got that done, it got to fade away. So I had to get new versions of it, and the old version of this motherfucker don't miss was in potato quality, and I found a better quality version of the video to use. One could say it was missing a couple pixels. Wink. Anyway,
That's dead.
you're on my home turf now, Eli. I get to make Pixelgate jokes. But anyway, before we jump into the episode, before we get any further, we do have a lovely sponsor or a lovely message from our lovely sponsors at sundaysbloodymary.com. You guys know the drill by now, except for you, Eli, because you can't drink yet. Sundaysbloodymary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy, like their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes. And for those of you who are trying to get a little nasty with your Bloody Mary, they also got their award-winning pickled dilly beans, okra, asparagus, and rim salt, as well as some fun, cute Bloody Mary tomato-themed merch. So get on over to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout, and get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Eli, as our guest, I'm going to give you the floor first here to give your overall thoughts on the season. You know, how you felt by the end of Bad Batch Season 1, how you're feeling going into the season, and how you're feeling now that we are at the end of it all.
So, I guess for me, first of all, I'd just like to, first, thanks for having me back here. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Of course.
Second of all, I'll say this. I thought that Bad Batch Season 1, when I watched it originally, was very good. I wouldn't put it as great yet. But then Jacob and I, my co-host, did a rewatch for In a Galaxy. This was about, I think this was last fall. And both of our appreciations for that show, for the first season, drastically went up. And we did this before Season 2 started releasing. So I felt bad for Season 2 because I knew that it was going to conflict with Season 3 of The Mandalorian at some points. So it kind of gave me this underdog mentality to root for Season 2 because I knew it was going to do some really crazy stuff. But it obviously wouldn't get covered the same way because of The Mandalorian's release. Then I watched the premiere, Ruins and Spoils. I forget which order they're going. And I'm like, yeah, we're back in shape. We're doing more of the same great stuff we were doing last season. And then I watched The Solitary Clone. And after The Solitary Clone finished, I just sat there. And I said, oh, this is how this season's going to be. And I was proven right time and time again by the season that it was going to be the season of The Solitary Clone, the season of episodes like Metamorphosis, the season of episodes like The Outcast, of Plan 99 and Summit, the last two, The Clone Conspiracy, Truth and Consequences, even stuff like Faster. This season, to me, took everything I loved about Season 1 up a notch and just made the adventures more interesting, more, I think, a little less safe. I think they played with a lot of familiar characters in Season 1, which I don't think is necessarily bad, but I think the new places and the new adventures they went on this season were just more interesting to me. And this season was really good. And I gotta say, the elephant in the room is this finale, which changes the entire way I looked at the season.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, we talked about in our episode review, the review of the finale itself, I should say, that Andrew from For the Republic, because I was still we were still on our hiatus when the premiere came out, but I got to go on For the Republic to talk about the premiere still. And Andrew found the clip of about 20 minutes in where I made it abundantly clear that we got a special delivery from Taylor. Thank you. You want to leave those bad boys in the kitchen for now?
Oh, there's the pickled okra.
No, that is not the pickled dilly beans, okra, or asparagus from Sunday's Bloody Mary. That is me.
It's a tomato t-shirt.
Huh? It's not a tomato shirt either. It's me being a fat bastard and said, "Hey, honey, can you get me a double down from KFC because I saw an ad and I wanted to have it again." What?
Today was the last day, and they're putting it back in the vault tomorrow.
No shit, really?
Yeah, it came back for like March, and then today was the
Oh,
last
I
day.
didn't know. I didn't know what the shot
You
clock.
lucky son
I
of a
didn't look
bitch.
at Spencer like just realizing he's got to start writing my eulogy because I had to double down right after this episode. This will be the last piece of content I put out. I will not make it to the rematch. Scotty will
I
have
will
to play
fight in
my
your
ghost.
stead. I'll be your second.
You'll
even
fight
though I
in
let
my
you,
stead.
even though I let you down the first time, I
The
have as your
ultimate
second.
redemption for Spencer. The ultimate redemption for Spencer in epic confrontations.
Dude, I,
This is
you would have to-
Ahmed Best level redemption stuff.
You would
Yeah.
have to immediately cut to a Rocky style training sequence for me to get in
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
trivia shape
Yes.
for such a matchup.
I think you could take Scotty head to head.
I just like I told you, I think, Jared, recently. It's just like I haven't studied for trivia in like 10 years. And
Neither
so
has
it's
he.
Just, it's just slowly leaking out. And so I'm just losing it a little piece at a time.
It is okay. You steel sharpens steel, and now I am the circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
It is true, and there's nothing that makes me more proud.
And for anybody who doesn't know, my obsessive compulsion to be good at Star Wars trivia began because Spencer shut me out for damn near 10 years in Star Wars Trivial Pursuit.
That was back when there
Shamefully.
were only 6 movies and 0 TV shows, though.
Or at least the one TV show came out after the board game had been published. But anyway, but with the finale, you know, I said in that episode about the premiere on For the Republic, Connor's other show. We're Polly with our panelists here. I made a joke because like Tech seemed like he could have gone down for the count in the premiere. And if memory serves, he almost falls to his death.
He
Because
gets
his legs
injured.
all wonky. He gets injured, but doesn't he get like trapped in like the war chest and it almost falls?
Oh yeah, actually yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
I think
between
that
him
is what
being
happened,
injured
yeah.
and him being trapped in the war chest, I was like, there were a couple times there where I was like, I thought Tech was gonna die. And
They're like, nope, we're gonna develop him for an entire season. Then
Yeah,
we're gonna
well,
kill him.
but I really do think it's interesting that like maybe not interesting. I like that kind of foreshadowing. I like that people are gonna get to go and rewatch this show and realize like from the premiere, Tech's days were numbered.
Right.
And that like throughout this season, Tech is narrowly escaping death.
Not to mention the fact that they're going to tease us with a potential love interest, like right at the end. I was like,
dude.
now I know this.
That
poor
was my
guy's
first
gonna
hint.
die.
That was my 100% first hint. When that goodbye with Fee happened, I was like, I don't think they're gonna do it, but this certainly sounds like they're gonna kill him.
This is frightening. And we talked about it in our episode review. This Fee does her like, hey now, brown eyes, and I was
come
sitting
back
there.
to me, brown eyes.
Yeah, you better come back to me, brown eyes. And I out loud with a bowl full of popcorn went, oh no. Like I said, there are a few things you want less than for it to be your first or last day on the job or to have some beautiful honey to come home to. Those are death sentences. It shows like the Bad Batch. It's giving me flashbacks to when Age of Ultron came out, and like halfway through the movie, it's like, hey guys, meet Hawkeye's wife and children, and everybody opening night went, oh my god. Like you gotta start praying for Clint Barton, because things don't look good for him. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Eli. I think that this season, in many, many ways, took a lot of the bones of what was good about the Bad Batch last season and made it truly great here in this one. Kaysen, we've all talked about the Bad Batch at length between last season and this season, and you only got to us about halfway through. So I'm going to give you the floor next on your overall thoughts about season 2 before we get into the nitty gritty here.
I mean, I really like season 1 of the Batch. I wasn't as like turned off by it as some people were. Like I know some people were like, okay, this is too slow of a burn for me. Or like even like in the first half of this season as well, people were like, "Yeah, this is moving too slow. I can't get into it." And it's like, bro, if you just stick around, like there's some pretty wild stuff happening
Let
here,
'em
and
cook.
it's real good. Yeah,
They
literally,
cooked.
hold up,
Let
let
them
Disney
cook.
cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's the same thing, like same sentiment that you guys have said. Like we build tech up the whole way throughout the season, and then they're like, "Psych, found his goggles at the bottom of a canyon." Like, bro.
And by the way, I just want to say this because God, I hope he's dead. And I don't mean that as I hate tech thing,
No,
but like,
I'm with
God,
you.
I hope he's actually dead.
I'm with you.
Because as soon as people started theorizing, I'm like, no, count me out of that. We need death to start meaning something again in Star Wars. I am a bigger fan of like what Disney's been doing with Star Wars than most people have been. I feel like over the last however many years they've owned it. But like, this is the one thing my one pet peeve. They need to stop bringing back characters.
Yeah. I'm with you there. They already did the bait and switch with Echo, and
Yeah,
like, even though he
Echo,
didn't start
obviously,
as a member of the batch, he is one now. And if they did a second, like, just kidding, this member of the batch isn't actually dead.
And they did it with Gregor in season 1. I mean, they technically did it before in Rebels, but they even made a joke about it in season 1. Gregor literally says, I remember when Jacob and I were watching this for In a Galaxy, and I got so pissed at the show. Gregor's like, I survived an explosion once. And I'm like, yeah, Gregor, we know. Care to tell us how you did that?
Please elaborate.
It's a complete throwaway line, and they never explain it.
I've always been of two minds with like the death never sticks thing, because on one hand, you want those moments, those beats to mean something.
Right.
But I also suffer from a bad case of comic book brain where, there was always that old adage that the only people in comics who stayed dead were Batman's parents, Gwen Stacy, Jason Todd, and Ben Parker. And since then, every single one of those characters has come back from the dead in some way, shape, or form. Like, down to Uncle Ben in the OG Spider-Verse event being one of like the main spider people they had to find. So like, part of me, my whole view on that has always been, okay, like in bringing back one of these characters in the dead isn't inherently a bad decision. It's all an execution. And Star Wars also has a long lineage of like, oh, this character is dead, but not really functionally. All the way back to fucking Ben Kenobi. That, within the next movie, he's still there in a very limited capacity, but still, like, Star Wars has always had this weird relationship with how dead somebody can be. But that said, I do fully agree. I do think this loss needs to sting and be permanent. The only way I'd be super, not even super, but like the main way I think you could sell me on Tech returning is if like he is recovered and experimented upon and is turned on the batch. But you're right. I agree.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. A lot of people theorizing about it. Is basically them turning him into another Clone X.
They're turning him into another Echo. Let's be honest. Is
that a cool idea? Yes, it is. Do I want to see it?
But it's already been done.
Absolutely not. No, they got to keep that guy dead.
It's already been done. Leave it be.
Oh, and I agree. Then that's what I'm saying. Like, that would be my only, like, that is my only, like, acceptable, like, for me to go, okay, you brought me to the table, I will let you cook type thing. But Eli, no, I totally agree with you. I really do truly hope that this sticks. Like, we see, I can't imagine having to turn back on what we saw, like, when we saw Omega's reaction. Like, that was just so chilling, and it broke my heart so much. And
that episode, how they executed Tech's death was so well done. Like, it was like extreme. It was just extremely well. That entire episode, honestly convinced me that Jennifer Corbett has joined, at least in my opinion, the ranks of the really, really great Star Wars writers, my pantheon of great Star Wars writers.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm absolutely inclined to agree.
That episode went the exact opposite of the way I thought it was going to go, and it made me feel that every step of the way.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that for me sells it so well is that everything about the existence of the Bad Batch and the clone troopers at large is that their life is this constant conflict of agency and personhood and identity. And we see the clones be lionized and talked about and treated so individualistically, if that was a word, by the Jedi during the war. But at the same time, we watch them facelessly die in droves, no different than the battle droids.
Yeah.
But you juxtapose that with all of the Yoda in Ambush, Plo Koon in the first Malevolence episode. That for every
the Umbara arc,
arc, yeah. So for every time we see just hordes of faceless clones die like cannon fodder, that is juxtaposed with every single one of those moments that is so integral to who they are. So yes, they're all heroes. Yes, they're all people. Yes, they're all individuals. But also so much of the horrible things that happen to them. That's not even without touching Order 66. That's without even touching the moment where their agency, all of their personhood is stripped away, and they may as well just have programming like a battle droid.
Mm.
So you juxtapose all of that with Tech's final moments, where this act of heroic sacrifice of what some could call one of Tech's interpersonal weaknesses, his perceived coldness, his analytical thinking coming to bear in this way where he has to make this snap decision. It is at once such a poignant linchpin of this series so far, and in many ways it's so deeply unceremonious. Tech does not get to have a train the boy, I know there's still good in him, I love you, I know type goodbye.
And it doesn't even it's not even like a badass goodbye. It's not a badass goodbye. It's literally
he doesn't get that is so good. You're right. He doesn't get he doesn't get to do a badasses don't look at explosions, nor does he get to have an I love you, I know.
But at the same time, I think it displays Tech. Let's be honest, Tech was never that doesn't look at explosions type guy. He's the very practical thinking. He's there's only one solution to this lot. If we are out of options, the only option is to pursue the only option. Even if that means so to me, it's Tech. It would feel disingenuous to me. It would feel like puffed up if he would have some wild and crazy type,
heavy,
a real heavy, yeah, exactly on Rishi Moon, live to fight another day, boys. He's just no, this is the only solution. Bang, goodbye. He is a literal human calculator. He's computing every possible outcome. He is in this situation where he's trying to save the whole batch, and he finds himself in a precarious position of hanging off the end of a half derailed rail car. And he's no, this thing is second. There are 3 fighters on us. If you guys don't get moving now, none of us make it. This is the only choice. I'm going to make it. And to me, it just he of anybody knows what the likelihood is that they make it out by any other way. And he's no, this is the only solution.
It's the Rise line. It's the Rise Skywalker line. The odds better than any of us, 3PO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's just this isn't even a decision for me. You can tell if it was I don't think there is a version of this story where Tech thinks about himself.
No.
Of all the Batchers, like they're all selfless. They're all willing to lay their lives down for the squad. But of all of the ones to make the split-second decision to put their life on the like to calculate the options and to immediately respond by giving up themselves, like Tech is that guy. He's the guy who's going to quickly realize this is the only way. He is the guy who's going to not even hesitate to pull the trigger, literally, on saving the rest of the group at the expense of his own life. He's like, nope, this is the only way. Plan 99. I love you boys. Goodbye. And to me, like, that is a more impactful thing for Tech individually. I don't know that would be the case. Like Wrecker, go ahead. Like, don't look at the explosion. Do a Rishi Moon heavy style sacrifice. Like, that's in his character because we know
you like the scene writes itself.
Exactly.
The scene writes itself. It's like going out with the
sacrifice.
biggest explosion yet, boys. Like you can hear that dialogue.
It writes itself. But I think the choice to kill Tech was a good one for several reasons. Because of the Batchers, the only two that really have no let me think how I want to say that. I'm gonna do this in reverse. Echo has plot lines to expand upon with Rex and with the saving of clones, right? Hunter is very clearly the primary father figure in Omega's life. He's got more story to tell. Crosshair is the captive of the Empire. They were going to get him in the first place. He's clearly got more story to tell. Omega is the linchpin of this entire stinking thing. So it comes down to two characters that are, well, easiest to kill off without having serious ramifications against all of the plot buildup that we've been working toward for 2 seasons. And they're Wrecker and Tech.
And try to kill Wrecker. And I dare you to kill Wrecker.
Exactly,
I dare you to kill Wrecker this early on. You can't do that.
Shot several times. Like and Wrecker is he's the most lovable, I think, of the Batchers, except maybe Omega. Like
that's what I meant by like try to kill Wrecker at this point. Like try to kill the teddy bear. Try to do that and see how we react to that.
Exactly. That wouldn't bode well for Disney in terms of the fan outlash or backlash rather. But Tech is a good choice because, and it seems like they threw in some last minute character development to make us care about him before he dies, which Jared and I have had lengthy conversations about. Jared, I know that you don't have serious, like deep rooted affections for Tech as a character. You think he's just like, he's the genius. He's the okay. And he got, but I think, I hate to say it, and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe the only reason we got as much character development from Tech this season is because they knew they wanted to kill him off at the end. Like the only reason we get the love interest with Fee, the only reason that we get the serious heart-to-heart that he has with Omega in the cave after Echo leaves, and like we kind of get a peek into like, oh, so like Tech just kind of said like, oh, I'm kind of on the spectrum here. Like I process things differently than you do. Like we get all that. I'm not saying they did that just for the sake of him killing off, but we get more insight into that so that we care about him more as a character, so that by the time the end of the season comes, we're like, oh no, like ouch, we lost Tech, as opposed to
him.
Oh, it's just Tech. Yeah. But
I think that there's
he's a
something
logical
interesting.
choice.
Sorry, buddy.
No, he's a logical choice. There's really only 2 options, and whenever we talk, like Eli said, like good luck killing off Wrecker because the fans are just going to go ballistic. So in reality, I think Tech was the only choice. But given that he was the only choice, I think this was the best way to do it. Like not like a real powerful, sophisticated, like, yeah, I'm a bad boy and everybody knows it, and I'm going to give up my life for the crew because I'm awesome. You know, he's just like, this is the only choice. This is the only logical conclusion. I am built on logic. I'm built on reasoning and calculation. This is it. Goodbye. I love you. So I thought it was well done.
I absolutely. And I think what's really interesting though is like, I think Tech, for me, you know, I've made all the jokes, you know, I was super into Tech, blah, blah, blah. That I from about the midpoint of this season, started to have a change of heart. Like, I really started to appreciate Tech a lot more. And I think one of the reasons why his specific character development has been so noticeable is that I think everybody this season has got a lot to work with, has got a lot of meat on the bone. But because Tech from last season was basically starting from ground zero, you know, like Tech did not get a lot to work with last season. It was mostly Hunter, Crosshair, or he was Hunter, Crosshair, Wrecker, Omega. And, you know, Echo and Tech were kind of along for the ride. And this season, because we got so much for Echo and Tech compared to last season, it felt so like, because we actually got to see them progress, whereas like Hunter and Wrecker and Omega and Crosshair were just kind of picking up where they left off. So like we got, you know, Tech going from like the Donatello, the whatever of the group, to having this, like, you know, yes, I process things differently, but that doesn't mean I don't miss Echo and Crosshair as much as you do. And we see him get to be this, like, you know, heroic guy with Faster. And we get to see this, like, you know, subtle, really cutesy liking he and Fee take to each other. We get to see all of that. And then in that final moment, like, because we understand Crosshair so much better, you know, like last season, if something like this happened, it'd be like, oh yeah, like Tech is making the obvious decision because he's a calculating, like, you know, analytical individual. He's able to go, it is my life or all of our lives, and makes the obvious decision. We're here especially because that, like, I process things differently. It doesn't mean I don't feel it. Like,
right. It's still the same Tech, but we feel it more for him, right?
We feel it more
for
him.
him.
Yeah.
More.
And like the decision he makes to sacrifice himself, at least to me, like, not only is it a matter of utility, it's also him going like, I don't want you guys to get hurt. You know? So like
I'll never forget Tech's final
carries so
lines.
much.
I'll never forget Tech's final lines. We never were those who followed orders, Hunter. Bazinga.
I would like the record to show that I did not make that joke. Connor, your overall thoughts on the season before we get into some of the nitty gritty, as we already have. Like, we, you know, I think we had a good conversation about Tech's passing.
I'm fooling with my watch real quick. Listen, man, this shit is sensational. I love this.
You're not gonna weasel a second one out of me that early.
Yeah,
no,
I was gonna say, don't do it
but
again.
this watch is incredible. I love this. Garmin is just built different as a company. They're not going to sponsor us, but like,
you never know.
That was a very
compared
specific
compared to season one, and I remember when Jared and I did the Bad Batch season one review. I think it was just the two of us with a guest, and like Jared, I wasn't big on season one all that much. Just didn't really hit the right notes for me. It just wasn't really vibing with it. That's not the case with season two, with this past season. I really vibed with it. I thought just the storyline just felt very Clone Wars-y, with like the very standalone-ish episodes that had like bits and pieces of like overarching stuff, like the clone rights stuff, the transition from the Republic to the Empire. We get a furthering of that. The fact that Tech gets more character development, R.I.P. He legit became my favorite Batcher, and then Plan 99 happened. And I was like, oh, all right, guess I'll go fuck myself.
That was the point.
The fact that, like, I don't know, it's just Omega just doing Omega things, you know? She's becoming more, you know, of herself. She's becoming more independent, more
but still remaining the sweet, precious baby girl she is.
Yes. Like, there's more of an independence to her, but there's still that core of like, really just sweet, a really just like almost cupcake sweetness to her that just will never go away. Which I really appreciated how they really just leaned into that this season. But like there was an obvious maturity with Omega. Who else? I thought it just overall was a really solid season, just compared to season one. I hate to make comparisons because comparison is the death of joy sometimes. But
absolutely, I mean,
that's a word right there. Comparison is the death of joy.
Oh, that's probably a phrase somewhere. I just made it up. It probably didn't. I don't know.
Connor, I think you just have bars.
Yeah. No, I think that's bars, and I also think that an important thing is that
Eli, I love when you say shit sometimes. Oh
no, but
kids
no,
say the damnedest things.
But I think one of the things about season 2.
Oh, the line is I think comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's the original line.
Oh, that's yeah. I've heard that. Very good though. Great word, Connor. Thank you.
But I think one of the things is that season 2 of the Bad Batch, obviously, but like still crucially, couldn't work without season 1.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Like you know, we obviously I think it was a step up, but it only was a step up because it had something to build on. It only got there because of the foundation.
Also, the fact that the Batch finally, and I mean finally,
I know what you
broke free of Sid's grasp.
God darn Sid, yeah,
man, fuck Sid.
Sid. All my homies
Sid. Sid, shut up,
literally thought that.
Shut up! I will fire your ass. This is a Saw Gerrera friendly podcast.
Not in this panel. It's not.
Wait. Look, do I think Saw was necessarily right in what he was doing? No, but do I think he was the villain or something like some people are saying? No.
No,
not the villain, but
I think
I've seen some people seriously saying that Saw was the villain and he's responsible for Tech's death, which is just not how that works.
I think if we might run with that for a second, is it possible that both of them failed to grasp the grandeur of what their decision? Like, think about it. Like, I was thinking about this.
Fail to grasp both the Sid and Saw of the situation.
No, I mean Saw and the Batchers.
Oh,
because here's why. Like Eli is saying, Saw's getting heat because he like messed up the plan, right? However, if you were Saw and you knew that they were going there to rescue one of their clone brothers, you'd be like, dude, this is so much more important than that. Like, this is about taking out some of the highest level. Like, think of who's in that room. Just in like, let's forget that.
If they killed just Tarkin and Krennic,
then oh my goodness,
what if they killed just Tarkin?
Yeah,
or even if they killed just Hemlock, like,
or just Krennic.
Exactly. Like, listen,
we don't know the shit that Hemlock's pulling off.
Listen,
we don't know.
Neither one of them fully grasp the consequences of the other person. Like if I were Saw, I'd be like, I don't care about your clone brother. Look who's in that room. Like you said, Jared, all you need are really Krennic and Tarkin to make a serious impact. However, like, knowing what we know, like, what if the Bad Batch, I mean, they blew up and it didn't kill them anyway. But like, just imagine if the explosions, and they had the opportunity to remove the explosive. Imagine if the explosion did kill them, but like think of Hemlock was also in the room. So if it did succeed in killing them, then it would stop like the cloning stuff that would happen further on. But like, we don't know a lot about Hemlock, but I'm convinced that whatever Hemlock is working on has direct ramifications for the sequel trilogy. So like, this is going decades in the future. And so the Batchers could be saying, no, you don't understand who this Hemlock guy is. We got to figure out where his base is and get a grasp on his operations, because this could have really horrible ramifications for the entire galaxy way down the line. Like, he's clearly experimenting on people, but I don't think the clones realize how close they are stumbling upon something that's really, really seriously important. Like I think the clones they're just there for Crosshair. They're just there for their fellow clones.
They don't understand.
Realize
they probably are. They don't understand how close they are to realizing just the bastardization of their DNA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this with Andor. I think Jared said like I don't even think that Cassian knows like how important what he's doing. Like he's completely oblivious. We only have
like he's building like how did Alden describe it? I always
It is
forget.
the screws for the panels for the screws for the super laser.
Yeah. So like even though the Bad Batch have no idea, they are as oblivious as we would expect them to be. Like they are trying to undermine an operation that has such greater ramifications than they can even grasp. So I'm thinking about that actively while I'm watching this episode. I'm like who would I vote for? Knowing what we know, like would I rather them rescue Crosshair and possibly undermine the efforts of Hemlock and his cloning facilities, knowing that it's the Emperor's cloning efforts that lead to a lot of what happens in the sequel trilogy? Or would I side with Saw? I mean, the explosions failed anyway. Like they didn't kill.
In theory,
anybody anyway. But in theory, like not knowing that, hey, these explosions are going to fail. Who would I side with? Like, who? I don't know.
I think what happens on Iriadu in the finale.
I gotta go with the Batchers because like I can just whack pretty easily Tarkin or Krennic or one of these guys. Palpatine, on the other hand, I can't really whack.
True. But like I think what we're gonna see with like the stuff on Iriadu is going to like become one of those like great Star Wars flashpoints.
You have my permission to make that an audio clip now, Jared.
I will. And Richard is getting very excited with this conversation as well.
Hi, Richard.
that could have been timed better. But I think there's something like really interesting to be said for everything you were saying, Spencer. That like what could have been affected here? Like, you know, we and Kaysen was talking about this on the episode review. You know, that like all of the what ifs, like what if we kill Krennic and like again, just Krennic and Tarkin, just Krennic and Tarkin.
Just
like
Krennic
yes,
and Tarkin.
like everybody in that room, but like you completely sideline Project Stardust, at least for a little bit.
Stardust is DOA, yeah.
Like you completely throw that off the rails. Holy shit! You know, and like you know what I said about Andor so many times is that like Cassian Andor does not realize he is setting in motion a chain of events that will lead to Emperor Palpatine dying twice.
Exactly.
Like it is his direct actions. He is making choices that are a part of that is part of dominoes that will lead not only to the Battle of Yavin, not only to the Battle of Endor, not only to the Battle of Jakku, but the Battle of Starkiller Base and the Battle of Exegol. Like,
but he doesn't know it.
He has no idea, and he would have no fucking way of knowing.
Exactly, and that's the same with the Batchers.
He would have no way of knowing, and frankly, we didn't know until it happened. But you look at something like you look at something like there's some pretty you know, if you look at Andor by arcs, you know, you have the beginning, which obviously is a chain of events that starts the entire series off. You have Narkina 5, which is your standard prison arc, which is my personal favorite arc of that season. And you have the ending to tie everything together. But there's one more arc in the middle. And that's, of course, Aldhani, which is the first domino in the rebellion against the Empire. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the first proof that the Empire is not infallible.
They can bleed. They
can bleed. Yeah. And like Aldhani is basically responsible for Scarif, Yavin, as Jared said, Hoth, Endor, whatever in the future. That all goes back to Aldhani. And building off the point of like the kind of the consequences of actions idea, I think it's an interesting thing this season. This season is in a really interesting place that I think gives the writers both an interesting freedom and an interesting challenge, which is that I will say this. From just the basic like timeline storyline, like knowing the timeline, knowing the outside universe details, You know who I would have sided with in that debate? Neither of them, because I know that neither of them would have been able to make a significant impact. We are in an era.
Well, yeah, but I think the implication is that if we side with either of them, we can make an impact.
No, I understand that. I'm using that to underlie the other point I'm making, which is the idea that there's nothing majorly galactic scale significant that can happen in this show. And that is both a blessing and a curse for this show. Because it has the room to tell the smaller.
Unless it's a devastating defeat, that's.
Unless it's a devastating defeat, and I think that's and I think that is honestly.
Unless we see a clone uprising and the Empire just absolutely squashes
dismantles it. Yeah. But we can't see any major victory. And this is, by the way, this is my favorite thing about the Star Wars canon. George Lucas, when he made the original New Hope, with one line in a crawl, screwed over Star Wars creators for literal decades. I want to find the New Hope crawl. Just so I can, just because this is just so funny to me that he.
While you find it, I know what line you're talking about, but I also think it's funny that one line of dialogue has given birth to nearly hundreds of stories. That while you have the first victory that is what we retroactively now know to be Scarif, because of you fought with the Clone Wars. You fought in the Clone Wars? That exchange has given us a movie, a TV show, how many video games, how many books, how many comics, 2 fucking TV shows, 3 if you count Tales of the Jedi,
maybe 4 at some point.
Maybe 4, 4 counting the Bad Batch.
5 in that case, depending on whatever happens in Celebration. Who knows? Because there's a lot in that era.
I found it. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. The implication that was their first victory, their first major victory, basically. So then Rebels then Rogue One reverse engineered that and said, okay, what was that first major victory? And then we saw, because they couldn't get to their first major victory without having minor victories, Rebels and or what have you. I'd even go back to Obi-Wan Kenobi. With rescuing Leia from the
Leia, them even holding them off on Jabim.
But we're in this weird space, and this is the other reason why I'm interested in this era, because nothing's happened in this era. We know nothing about this era. There has been very little canon material about this era.
The immediate transition.
The immediate transition, if we're talking like Tales has gotten into it with the final short the littlest bit, but not even really. And the closest thing we have is Jedi Fallen Order, which and I know I'm my audience here, so I'm not trying to diss this story, and this is but I'm just making an observation about it. That is a very self-contained story. That is not it takes place in it's a smaller scale story. It takes place in smaller, more isolated locations. So we don't really know what the larger galaxy looks like based on Fallen Order. Survivor's going to change that, but even that's taking place around Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is an era we know way more about.
Yeah, that is a lot of really
Vader
interesting
comics, but even then it's
even then that's still so even though it is a really broad story, it is still so self-contained to Vader's accepting of his current state. And it is like Eli said, it is the double-edged sword again. Kaysen, we were talking about this in the episode review, and I think it is the big question here now. With all the fun what if of it all, what would have been a more meaningful victory? Having this clone rebellion that could have started here, or maybe stopping the Death Star. Even that has a lot of caveats to it, and again, what you said, Eli, that the clones cannot have if we do get this clone rebellion, if we do get this like reinterpretation of that iconic Battlefront 2005 story with the clone rebellion, even if we do get that, like in keeping with the clone motif of agency, futility, and not being able to like fully affect the change that you want to, we know it has to fail. We know it has to end like tragically, cataclysmically.
Yeah, that's
because
the other thing.
Batch isn't there in fucking Rebels.
That's the other thing. Is that I was talking with a friend of both of our shows, Alden Diaz, about this, and we were rationalizing this like this. Not only did we not see any of the other clones that we've seen in this in Rebels, we saw Gregor, obviously. We haven't even seen Wolf in this show. But not only that, but basically, if you remember that episode, The Lost Commanders and Relics of the Old Republic, kind of both of them. I forgot that was a two-parter in Rebels. Basically, Rex goes through a mini Last Jedi Luke arc.
Yeah,
less tragically, of course, but he has to be convinced several times to rejoin the fight, and he is discouraged. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So this not only has to explain where the other clones went, but it has to devastate Rex so badly that he disappears on Sealos for literal decades.
Yeah. Like this show, for as much shit as season 1 was given, like this is really laying the groundwork. We were just talking about, Scarif and Aldhani and Lothal and all these like minor victories that the rebellion had leading up to Scarif, that is. This may be the Empire's first major victory. This may be like what we may be seeing here is everything leading towards the first time the Empire got to just fully wrap its hand around somebody's throat and just throttle the life out of a rebellion. Like we're seeing all the little ways. We're seeing all the people who are trying to push back, who are getting shot down, who are getting put back in their place. But like again, if this is headed where we think it's headed, to some type of clone liberation, some type of battle between clone troopers and the Empire, what we may end up with is seeing how decisively the Empire eliminates this threat. And it's heartbreaking ramifications.
There goes Jared spoiling season 3 already.
I hope. I hope we can clip this one just like me saying, "Man, I think Tech's a dead man." Keep clipping. Keep clipping it. Keep making me look smart.
And honestly, Jared's whole predictions was where I was going for season 2. I thought this was and I said this earlier. Today I was recording with Fathers in the Galaxy, great show, and I said this on their show. I was like, this was my prediction for how season 2 was going to end. I thought it was going to be they go to Tantus, they rescue Crosshair, emotional get together, blah blah blah. They get pinned down. On Tantus for some reason, and like the Deus Ex Machina that rescues them at the last second is Rex's clone network, and Rex's clone network rescues them, but like upwards of 90% of them die. I thought that was going to be the thing. I thought this was going to be the moment where, like, to get the Batch out of there, to save just yet another clone's life, like, the massive amounts of clones. And once we knew, too, Cody and, Hauser and any, like, name clones that we gotten attached to, I thought they were all going to be just mercilessly slaughtered by the Empire to buy time for their escape. And I thought that was going to be the big depressing note. But they went, hold my beer. Let me get you something just a bit more depressing.
Yes. Let's up the ante on how sad this can actually be.
Yeah. And
you wanted to cry?
They did it with one death, which is way fewer than the amount of death I was predicting. I was predicting in like the literal like hundreds.
Absolutely. We have been talking about the finale and its implications a lot. I do want to pivot here a little bit and talk about an element that everybody on this panel has talked endlessly about, how it's their favorite element of this show, and the Imperial transition. This still does have a lot to do with the implications of the finale. But specifically, one of the things that I love about the stuff we were getting about the Imperial transition is the nuts and bolts of it all. Seeing stuff like Rampart's like bill that he wanted the Senate to push through to legalize like the new
Conscription.
Thank you. I couldn't find the word. The new conscripted military, stuff like that. But also one of the things I do really love is that we're seeing this really dark clandestine. It's the thing I keep bringing up, the really unsettling cosmic horror of Palpatine's inevitable return. That Palpatine installed an empire and immediately went, okay, someone's gonna kill me. And that is such an interesting choice for Palpatine. Not him wanting eternal life. That checks out on every level.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that Palpatine, this being, Darth Sidious, who is known so much for his, I can't even call it arrogance. It is confidence. Because so often he is right. That even he is able to go, someone's going to get me eventually.
Yeah. If
This
only he had a line
this
in
worked
one
way
of the
too
films
well.
explaining that.
Someone's going to get me. Yoda almost got me. Windu almost got me. Skywalker could have killed me. I need a contingency plan. And the fact that he knew from jump, I have to do something horrific to make this happen. Oh, and isn't it convenient that I have an army of guinea pigs for it?
Yeah.
And right in lockstep, they introduce a character who is just as horrific as Palpatine's plan itself in Hemlock.
Yeah.
That as like you were saying earlier, Eli, it was kind of unfortunate that Bad Batch had to share release days with The Mandalorian for no other reason than, the Bad Batch was kind of losing the occasional flower to Mando. But they really do make for such a fun double feature.
They do. Oh, absolutely.
Because for every episode you're seeing Hemlock talking about Hemlock and Nala Se talking about oh, the Emperor's cloning plan and it never worked. And then you
meanwhile, you got Connor over here being
yeah.
Meanwhile, you got Connor over here being so here's what I was doing under the Empire.
Yeah, so we figured out how to clone Force sensitives, guys. It kind of works, maybe. It makes for this really fun double feature.
You're not supposed
that I have really, really loved seeing. And seeing the way that the clones are walking away, seeing the clones write stuff. It is a lot of the nuts and bolts I was really looking forward to with the Imperial transition stuff. The Zillo Beast. Again, all of this stuff that is I love how centered on Palpatine's continued plotting the Imperial transition element has been.
Because it's his thing. The Empire is Palpatine.
He is the Emperor.
Yeah.
He is the Senate. He said it himself.
All of these evils incarnate. And I really do love a lot of those decisions that were made along the way, leading up to all of this, down to again, this is coming back to the finale. And it's just I feel better that it feels like the season review almost feels like a second review of the finale, but the finale so concisely put a bow on this whole season that by discussing the finale so much, we are discussing the entire season. That even the review, the reveal of the one doctor being a derivative of Omega in some way, you know, like
Dude, that got me, man. Because I remember there were people like, "Oh, this might be it," and I'm like, "No way, no way."
I was similar to Connor. I thought that's just a funny coincidence
that they
And
sound so
then-
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like because like I saw that, and then there was like, "Oh yeah, the camera lingered on her like really, a good amount at the end of the last episode before the finale." And I was like, "Okay, cool. That means nothing." But now I'm just like, well, I'm gonna eat my words. I'm gonna go eat my words now.
No, it just my only thing that my only opinion I have of that is that it just gives me twice as likely of a chance for a sibling of Boba Fett's to meet him in season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, which is all I want for that second season.
Well, let him cook. No, but like one of the things I really like about it, we talked about this on the episode review, is that season 2 of the Bad Batch ends in such a way that feels like the Empire Strikes Back, but without that hopeful chaser. Like the comparison I made was like the season 2 of the Bad Batch feels like if Empire ended with them escaping Bespin. Like
the scoop you can dip and that's it.
Just getting away. Like Luke and Vader have their telepathic conversation, and that's it. That is all the closure you get. You don't get to see Luke get his hand repaired. You don't get to have, oh, we're gonna find Han. Like you do not get any of that hopeful, we lost the day, but we live on to fight the rest of the war. You don't get any of that.
No, you don't.
You get more questions than you had answers by the end.
Yeah.
And you're 3 men down at this point.
Yeah.
Counting Crosshair. Between Crosshair, Omega, and Tech all being removed from the field of play. Like, they are looking in a very bad shape. And there is no upshot. There is no hopeful beat. You don't even get the hope of like Crosshair and Omega being reunited because she comes in and Crosshair's practically been lobotomized.
He's unconscious on that table.
Like he's comatose. She walks in, he's out cold. He looks dead. Looks dead. Like Omega gets no solace other than knowing like they worked on me and I didn't even know it. When she sees that there's another her in the room. One that looks older, which means that there are altered versions of Omega out there, at least one.
Yeah. We don't know what the heck that means. But
we have no idea.
Yeah, the implications of that I think are massive. Because like if there's like these other clones that are like Emery that we like didn't know about before, like where else did the Kaminoans put clones? Like, were they just in the clone army and then like Omega and Emery, or like?
Frankly, I think we should be asking the opposite question: where didn't they put clones?
Okay, that's also fair. Yeah,
they're in the goddamn walls.
Clones in the walls. Truly, like it is really unnerving. Or again, like you have all those questions, like like Omega and Nala Se's relationship is, it's also like a really unsettling element of the show that like we're gonna like have to confront in season 3. That like Nala Se takes this like it is almost like the toxic negative version of the way Hunter and the rest of the batch view Omega. Where they look at her in this like we have to protect you, we have to defend you way, where Nala Se has the it's very George Lucas. It is the difference between a selfish or a selfless love and a selfish possessive love. It is it has been healing Rey versus Anakin destroying the Jedi to save Padme for himself. It is the difference between giving your life for somebody and like taking somebody's personhood away so you can have them. And that's what we see here with Nala Se. Like this whole time, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that when the Empire was like, we need Omega, we need that asset, that like Omega in her DNA, in whatever makes her, be it her like having a female presentation of Jango Fett or just something they hid in her genetic code that like she was part of breaking the of cracking this case. At the end of the day, Nala Se wanting Omega was no different than Whiplash wanting his fucking bird in Iron Man 2.
I would push back maybe a little bit. I don't know that necessarily is true, unless I'm missing a detail or I'm missing something from either one of the two seasons. It seems to me like from the beginning, it wasn't so much that Omega was Nala Se's pet.
I don't want to say. I don't want to do
as much as it was.
I'm being hyperbolic.
I know what you mean, but it wasn't so much like I'm just going to keep her around. It seemed to me more like, okay, so we tried this, and clearly this was like successful. I mean, more than once it would seem. However, the mold for the clone army is very explicitly male. Whatever motivations they had for excluding female reproductions of Jango Fett from the clone army, maybe I'm a little naive, maybe I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, but I think to me it seemed more like, okay, so Omega was, let's just for argument's sake say she was an experiment. Like, can we reproduce a male host with a XX chromosome pairing, and have it not turn into a disaster? And in at least two cases, it seems that that's true.
The answer
but
is yes.
We don't know what the background is. So it could be that Nala Se was like she's the researcher, she's the scientist. She's like, no, this can happen, this can be done, and what's his name? The prime minister was like, no, thanks, but no thanks. This isn't going to be useful to us on this particular project. And so in the interest of protecting the life of the experiment, which, granted, has not often been a concern for the Kaminoans. They are very much like these are assets. These are property of, whoever our clients are. So the failed ones, the ones that don't turn out the way we want them to, we have no problem discarding them. But who's to say that Nala Se isn't different than the prime minister, who again,
for sure. Yeah,
and maybe Nala Se in a less apparent way has a comparable level of maternal oversight over Omega that the batch. I mean, granted, they are kind of like her big brothers, and also kind of like her dad's, her family. Like, they are raising her in a more loving familial atmosphere. But who's to say that Nala Se hadn't stuck her neck out to say, like, no, just because this was just to see if it would work doesn't mean that we should like throw it out. So maybe the reason why Omega is Nala Se's shatter point, like her fulcrum point, is because she actually does care about what happens to this clone. She's interested not just in the fact, like, this is a scientific experiment, this is a major breakthrough, we can't afford to toss this data onto the incinerator heap, like, you can't destroy this life because it's essential to my research. Who's to say necessarily that it isn't motivated by like this is still a life. Like, we still try this, even if it was just to see if it could be done. Like, we can still care for, like, this isn't a useless life form. Like, we can still nurture this and like, obviously, to draw maybe a conclusion without a super amount of intel. But if Emery, is that her name? If Emery was raised on Kamino in the same sort of way that Omega was, it makes total sense that when she was old enough and she has the freedom, maybe, or is given the freedom to make her own decision, like, she's clearly knowledgeable in cloning and in the science of life reproduction. And so she wouldn't have ended up on Hemlock's team if she weren't. So who knows? Maybe the first round, the first try that ended up being Emery, or at least the first that we know of, ended up as knowledgeable about the cloning operations as Omega was in season 1, but grew up, maybe got away and made her own decisions, made her own allegiances. And maybe Nala Se is like, okay, that first one didn't turn out well, not because the cloning procedure wasn't good, but because we were not nurturing enough to or caring enough toward. And so she clearly went bad just because she was taught, I don't care about you, and so I'm going to seek someone who does. And maybe Nala Se's effort is to say, okay, so with round 2, we're going to instill in them that same training and that same, it can clearly be done, but also to provide for them a parental nurturing that will hopefully keep them from going AWOL. So I would give Nala Se the benefit of the doubt here, based on like if it were just, oh, I like Omega, like I don't want her to go the wayside. I think Nala Se would be more likely to not have Omega be her leverage point, but because what is, for crying out loud, what is the Prime Minister's name?
Lama Su.
Lama
Yeah,
Su?
Lama Su.
Okay, thank you. I keep blanking on it. Because Lama
The names
Su
are also
points,
similar, so I don't blame
because Lama Su points to Omega and says, if you want leverage on Nala Se, that's where you need to go. There's clearly an emotional attachment here that's greater than just you're a scientific experiment. So I want to give
absolutely. And I agree with you. I think that there is a level of, for lack of a better word, ownership that I already lost. Lama Su is the prime minister.
Nala Se.
Dad, Nala Se.
Tanwi's dead. Tanwi's dead.
Nala Se, Nala Sa.
Yeah, Tanwi's dead. That's true.
She died dead.
Super dead.
Fennec Shan killed her.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my god, that's so fucking crazy.
Remember when that happened? Remember when Ming-Na Wen in Star Wars killed the person who introduces Obi-Wan and Jango in Attack of the Clones? Remember when that happened in season 1?
I wonder if that ever came up between Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. She's like, yeah, I took a job for the Kaminoans. Oh, did you ever meet Tonwi? Funny you mentioned her specifically.
I think she was. I think she was.
That's so funny.
I think she was. She almost died meeting me.
Yeah.
Wait, not almost.
Yeah, but I think, but with the Omega Nala Se connection, I think there's a level of ownership that Nala Se takes over Omega that I think is clouding her judgment, because at the end of the day, Nala Se is willing to let Omega be around the Empire, knowing full well what they're willing to do to her. And at the end of the day, like, whether or not it was the right decision or not, whether or not it had more to do with Hunter second guessing himself and his comrades, all of that aside, when the rubber met the road, Hunter decided Omega might be safer not with us. Nala Se is not capable of making that decision. I don't think like she's truly brought her into the lion's den by deciding to let Omega be with her on Mount Tannis. So like that's where my thing comes into play, and like, again, like I say, like, more question than there are answers. Everything Spencer brought up, like, I just want to hit these couple points real quick. Like, we know there are clones who like exhibit like genetic expressions that like are deviant from Jango Fett. Like, Rex is fucking blonde. Rex has like a real Slim Shady thing going on. Is he dyeing it? Maybe. I don't know, but I feel like he might be a little busy during a war to do a bleach job every couple months. Granted, there's space magic and laser swords, so maybe I'm looking into that too deeply. But we have fun here. Like, did Omega just like manifest naturally as a female clone? Did they have a bunch of female clones who would come out of the Jango DNA? And we have Emery's just all over the fucking place on Kamino, and this is just the first one we met? Like, it's it's hard to unpack. Like that's what I'm saying. With like
the possibilities are
the
limitless.
possibilities are endless. The
What I was gonna
motivations
say
are
about
endless, and we
what I was
have
gonna
more
say-
questions than we have answers just by a handful of reveals that we got in this episode. And I think that's what's crazy. These bombastic, crazy, batshit finales. There's always like a reveal, a twist, like something that we learn. That like boggles our minds for however long. But with this one, there wasn't like there was like one reveal. Then it was just Emery's another Omega. Like that's just like it is that question being posed next to all of this tragedy.
All of the tragedy, yeah. The thing out the comparison I was gonna make for Nalase and Omega's relationship, and I'm half joking with this, but I'm half not, because I do think I just thought of this as an interesting parallel to think about. When Nalase and Omega actually meet up in season 3, here's what I want their first conversation to be. Omega, it's good to see you again. I just have one question for you. Have you removed your helmet in front of another being? I think Nalase is the armor of this show. I think that she is like
I thought you were about to pull a bit, Eli.
No.
You saved yourself from the Alex. Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow clip with the of this show so hard.
No, I'm saying like here's the thing. I think that her possessiveness over Omega is like it manifests in a similar way. I'm not saying they're the same character, but in a similar way that the armor, at least so far in this season, who knows, 6, 7, and 8 could change my whole perspective on this. The armor's like possessiveness about the way and about the rules of this of the Children of the Watch are, and it's like, do they care about the people under them? Yeah, they do, but do they have their best interests at heart all the time? Almost certainly not.
Well, that is a good point.
True.
As much as we were busting your balls for it at first, that is a really good point. But yeah, no, we've been kind of going here for a minute. Lots of really fun discussion. Anybody have any final thoughts they want to share on this season before we bring this puppy home?
I'd like to just say, because I freaking love this. Like, there's so many. I gotta say, even though I did love the finale, there's so many other great freaking episodes of this season that
Absolutely,
I was just so blown away by.
Well, by your point, like fucking Gungi, man, like lest we forget, like that changed everything. Like I just want to think back.
Everything.
I just want to think back almost a year ago.
Plus, did you check out Star Wars Explained that week? I heard it was terrible.
We got it after all.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
I'm joking. I can never call that terrible. You plugged EC on Star Wars Explained, which is something I never thought would ever happen.
Okay, shut the hell up before you get grounded. I want to think back to when we got our first look at this season at Star Wars Celebration. And everybody was talking about Gungi and the Emperor. And here we are at the end of the season. And as incredible as that two-parter was, Clone Conspiracy, Truth and Consequence, that, in my opinion, for me, was like the beginning of like the A plot that would drive the rest of the season, aside from the more adventure of the week episodes, which aren't bad. It's just, what we have to expect now. And we understand that's how the show kind of flows. We're here at the end of the season and we're talking about tech more than anything.
And Kemlock, who wasn't introduced until like episode 10 or 11.
Yeah, we were talking about Dr. Hemlock, one of the corniestly named Star Wars characters ever, and there are motherfuckers named Sidious, Maul, and Tyrannus in the other cartoon, in the other movie trilogy.
is the other card. Yeah, and he's named Hemlock. And and one of his first moves he ever pulls is literally surviving poison. Like that that is the cheesiest shit I've ever heard, and I love it so much. No, but I was gonna say, to Jared's point earlier, I don't even think, like, as much as I love the Summon of Plan 99, I really do, neither of them are my favorite episode of the season. My favorite episode of this season, and I will stand by this, is Truth and Consequences. Truth and Consequences, and that two-parter, first of all, was just some of the most fantastically executed Star Wars I've ever seen. But specifically, I just remember sitting there after finishing Truth and Consequences and thinking about the Machiavellian, like, perfectly crafted Palpatine story they did there. And, like, that is peak Sidious. That is peak manipulative. That is peak, like, the Bad Batch, give them credit where credit's due, they were playing 3D chess. But it didn't matter because Palpatine was playing 10D chess. And he was, like, 7 moves ahead of them, like he always is, and he made it look easy. Like, this guy, like, there was a moment where
he took, yes, we clandestinely genocided Camino on the chin and just yes-anded it into, like, an executive order on that on the conscription bill.
Yeah,
like,
he took out he used it to punish Rampart and take none of the blame, and, like, made it look like nothing, and all with Ian McDermott's voice doing it the entire friggin' time. Like, if that is not peak Star Wars, then I don't know what is. Like, that's absolute batshit crazy.
Sensational. That's his word.
Indeed. But no, absolutely. You know, Truth and Consequences, like the Clone Conspiracy, the Coruscant arc was fucking phenomenal. I remember,
also,
like,
Clone X is beautiful. Clone X is a really fantastic idea, and I'm
my god, I'm so fascinated with where the Clone X stuff is going to be headed. The slow falling out with Sid was so good. Like, that might be one of my favorite elements of it. Like, again, we were talking so much about, like, the implications and, like, the immediate aftermath of, like, looking back on the season, and that whole and the phenomena we were talking about of, like, we have more questions than we have answers by the end of this episode, by the end of this season. And what I keep thinking about is, like, one of my favorite elements is, Spencer, I saw you nodding your head, like, this slow falling out with Sid. That, like, it was not this one turn, it was not this one beat, it was this time where they're slowly like, she really does not give a fuck about us.
I will say,
she really does not give a damn. And watching that slow falling out manifest into the way that Sid just so coldly and despicably sold them out, which, like, we'd been talking about on the show for weeks about how, like, that's probably where this is going. And even though all of us were, like, talking about it for so long, that shit still hurt. That shit is still a blind side, you know, even though we saw it coming. What?
Adding insult to injury.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, Kaysen, I think you brought it up when we did the episode review, you know, that, like, she saw them come home without tech.
Right. And they're all beat the fuck up.
And
she's like, you know what?
Dead, missing a man.
She transitions from, where's Goggles? She transitions to, I'm sorry about Goggles, to immediately to, I'm sorry about what I just did. She goes from, you're grieving a dead friend, to, I just sold you out to the Empire in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 0.5 seconds to prepare for what's about to happen. Sorry, not sorry.
Like, that is maybe one of the craziest things ever. What I was going to say about the Clone X thing, just quickly, I do want to say this. Clone X, even though I do love the Clone X idea, they missed a major opportunity in that episode, and I'm very disappointed about, which is that the Emperor and Rampart was sending an assassin after Slip to make sure the information didn't get out. And they sent this Clone X, but the Emperor had a much more qualified assassin in his arsenal, and I wanted them to take out the assassin and lift up the helmet and to reveal the orange wrinkled face of Ochi of Bestoon.
Get out of here.
The grown-ups are talking again.
Get out of here.
I love Connor, who deals with Eli more than any of us because of epic confrontations. This looks like a man on the edge. I can hear the Chris Benoit music in Connor's fucking mind right now. Yeah, I almost forgot to bring Eli back in. Anyway.
Come on, it's been an hour and a half, and
I know. Honestly,
OG
I'm
once.
impressed you went. I'm impressed you went this long without bringing up OG. I am sincerely impressed with you.
I will say this
Bravo, bravo.
legitimately. Like I was towards the beginning of me being like a big OG stan. My like, oh, I want to see him in The Mandalorian. But after what we've learned about him, especially from the comics and from the Shadow of the Sith book, I've pivoted to I think The Bad Batch is the best show to see him. I really do.
Listen, Ochi of Bestoon is the mad lad who thought he could take on Mace Windu and Depa Billaba by himself. So
yeah, and
I'm
he survived that
sure
somehow.
Ochi thinks he is ready for all of the smoke. It doesn't matter who you pit him up against.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that Ochi should be a threat to them. Frankly, it's better if he isn't, because that's what he does best. Is towing that line of I could kill you if I really wanted to, if I don't trip on my own foot first.
He's Leroy Jenkins.
He is Leroy Jenkins. One could say that I am the Ochi of Bestoon of epic confrontations in many ways. Could kill you if I wanted to. I just got to not trip on myself first. But yeah, no, I think we all love this season. Connor, you've been very, very, very observant for this episode. You have any final thoughts before we bring this guy home?
I'm really excited to see where season 3 goes, because we're like, you can't leave that on a cliff. Come on.
Right.
How dirty would that be?
Very.
How dirty would that be?
Extremely
I
dirty.
don't think you make that season
Like triple
finale,
X type
Oh,
dirty.
of course.
They
Yeah,
had
and from what I
such an
understand-
out with Pabu. There's no way they released that season finale without knowing there's a season 3 in the
Knowing,
pipe.
yeah.
And
And
that's
animation
another
gets developed
thing.
at Lucasfilm like way earlier even than live action stuff does. So not only am I sure they knew it was greenlit, they're probably working on animation right now.
Oh, for sure. But like, just another thing I want to hit on that Spencer just brought up with their escape to Pabu, man.
Yeah.
That is classic Star Wars tragedy right there. They could have just.
I was gonna
retired.
say, I think maybe the creepiest episode of this season now looking back is not gonna be any of the climactic ones. It's going to be Pabu. Like, because it is haunting, that kind of joy that they're finding there, knowing the tragedy that's going to befall them in just 2-3 episodes.
Yeah.
It is fixing that central moment of time.
Yeah, upon
Not- it-
rewatches of
it's
this
the-
show, like you're gonna hit Pabu and it's just gonna hurt.
Yeah,
Because the longer you
It's
think
the
about it, the
tragic,
more you're
dramatic
just gonna
irony.
see Tech with Fee and them getting to just let Omega be a fucking kid, man. But
and her out on the jet ski
they don't get to
and
have
stuff
that.
like that. And
Yeah.
and the biggest problem they were having to deal with was literally a once in 3 decades earthquake, which compared to what
Yeah.
they had to deal with in the finale seems tame. That's
true.
But yeah, and it's like the Revenge of the Sith book that starts it like this story. It happened 1,000 years ago in a galaxy far, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Nothing can be done to change it. It's happening right now, but like it's already set in stone. You just gotta watch it. You just gotta like sit there and be like, I can't do anything about this.
Yeah. I love Star Wars. All right.
Fantastic.
With that, I think that is the end of this episode. Like I said, if you guys are watching this when it comes out on Thursday the 6th,
Yeah.
if my math is mathing, we will, whenever I'm back in good old Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, be expecting some Mando talk, some Mando catch up, honestly. And be sure to tune into the episode of Bombad Cast tonight that we're going to be doing all live in person, multi-cam setup, multi-mic setup. Scotty and Jerry, sometimes they overbook their show, and tonight they're going to have approximately 6 people on in the same room.
I know.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely
Especially,
I'm very
especially
aware.
with Trey there.
I'm
especially
very-
with Trey there.
Oh yeah,
Let it be known, I'm very aware of what could go wrong.
Connor's seen it all.
If there's anybody who knows as best as anybody could what could go wrong, it is Connor Cicchini.
Yes.
Speaking of Connor Cicchini, Connor, where can the lovely people find you and what you do, buddy?
Twitter, Depa Banana, Instagram, ConmanJFO. I co-host also over at For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We talk about all the Star Wars shows, both past and current / ongoing. We're hopefully going to talk about Clone Wars Season 2 at some point. I haven't been on the show in a while because we usually record during my off days from work. And when it comes to my off days from work, I don't really like to do podcasts. I've kind of figured out. I don't know why. I just don't, for the most part. You can find me also, like our guest, over at Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. I write trivia questions and I co-host.
Oh, does he?
Like we've talked about a bajillion times. We have the rematch April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on the Bombadcast. It will be my co-host, Jared the Dark Jedi, versus the Scotty J-Ro in NOLA, in person, for them at least. For me and Eli, it'd be virtual. 5 rounds. We just thought we'll see who wins. It's going to be
with
exciting.
a bonus 6 round.
I'm psyched for that match. We're almost done with the questions.
Let me tell you, the amount of planning that has gone into that match, the amount of specific things that I know, the little quirks of that match, probably has been honestly, the planning that's gone into this match, it has been the planning of every other Epic Confrontations match released this year combined.
But
probably
Epic Confrontations is not just the rematch. No, we've had other matches. We have many more matches on the way. You can check out all the past matches over at the Star Wars in a Galaxy podcast YouTube channel. And you can follow our Twitter over at In a Galaxy Trivia. And you can also find me over at sweditorIG.com/fiction. I work with a talented group of creative people to create a connected universe of Star Wars fan short stories and what other stuff. We have about 19 stories published, like Epic Confrontations. Many more content on the way. You're welcome, Alden Diaz. I don't have any stories published yet. I have a bunch in the works, all centered around Cal Kestis, one of which may release soon. I don't really know. We'll figure it out. I'm just kind of going with the wind at this point, man. I think that's all you can find me on.
All right.
March
Yeah.
23rd.
Kaysen, where?
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 Answer it now,
Everybody
Jason.
here's normally only on KNR. Travis does that to me every fucking episode of TNAP. I'm just numb to it. I'm just numb to it. Travis, where can the living people find you? Blah, 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 blah. Travis Political. Jared, yes, where?
Yeah.
Every episode.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Cray Breezy, like it says right there. Also manage a deathcore band called Belvedeth. If you like deathcore, not everybody does. Not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally cool. Not necessarily mine either, but shows are cool. And you can find me here on the Nerd Academy podcast on Knights of the Nerd Republic, mainly.
Which you knew because you're at the end of this episode.
Exactly. You knew that already. Why am I telling you this? I'm an idiot. You're an idiot.
Doesn't even disprove it.
Spencer, plug the Versus series.
Yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead, say crap.
if you like the content that we put out here at Knights of the Nerd Republic, then you can join our Patreon at the $5 tier and up.
to get access to Jared's and my monthly versus show. We are very pleased to put that on for you. And so yeah, do that, and you can find me at the grocery store after I realized that there's not enough milk for me to make a bowl of cereal in the morning.
That had the same delivery as Spooter, and I love it.
Where can lovely people find you, Young Buck?
You can find me at In a Galaxy Pod on Twitter, at Star Wars in a Galaxy on Instagram. You can listen to our show, Star Wars in a Galaxy, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, will be there. As Connor mentioned before, I am the commissioner of Epic Confrontations, our sideshow. The rematch, obviously, we have the image behind me. I have never been so excited for an Epic Confrontation match as the rematch. I will also just say this, because I feel like it, and because news, official news about EC beyond the rematch has been pretty non-existent. I'll say this: I'll unofficially announce the May match. I think this is the first time I've ever said it in public. But that guy behind me, Jerry the Cannon Junkie, he is returning to Epic Confrontations after his win over Buck O'Brien in, I believe it was October. And he is facing the also 1-0 singles player, the Baron Administrator, Chris Ryans of Broaxium. And that's going to lead into one of our number one. There it is. I was wondering if Jared had it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to really quickly be like, shit. I don't have this in the StreamYard.
Yeah. No, it looks great. And I'm really excited for that match. I'm really excited, honestly, for Jerry. I'm excited for Jerry because he definitely came through with an underdog win in that match. And then Chris showed up and absolutely Brian Fennessy, who was his first opponent, was playing well, and then Chris just kind of stonewalled him. He really did. He just he's one of the players I'm most interested in EC right now because he's dangerous. He knows what he's doing.
One could say that Chris Ryans
had that dog at 12.
I want you to know I accidentally clicked the wrong thing and it was almost Scotty going Tila. It's a very different clip. But yeah, go check out In the Galaxy. We love Eli, we love Jacob. They're lovely people. Obviously, Epic Confrontations is my shit.
There's the number of things we have up our sleeves for the rematch is just it's so stupid. This whole thing is just so incredible.
I'm haunted by a cookie jar, man. None of this shit makes sense. But you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. Obviously, we talk about Epic Confrontations quite a bit. Ionized Bastards, the Star Wars RPG show, starring myself, Jerry the Cannon Junkie, Alden Diaz, Dan Miller of Broaxium. Speaking of, congratulations, Dan. Very happy for you and your new baby boy, and the missus as well. And am I forgetting something? Me, Jerry, Alden. Yeah, there's four of us, and then Michael, who's the GM at All Remaining Systems, who runs.
I've recently caught up on Bastards, and it's really freaking good. I've been enjoying the crap out of it. Especially come for all of them, but stay mostly for maybe one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time, Thobor Sheems Esquire.
Yeah. I'm used to hearing Eli say that he prefers Alden to me. And hearing it come from my girlfriend stung a little bit more. But
dude, the
Thobor's a great character.
The stuff that we heard regarding Taylor and Thobor was unreal.
Oh yeah, I don't want to spoil it for Eli because he's not behind.
Yeah. What we have here is unrestricted attorney-client privilege.
I almost ended up on the couch for a couple nights for some stuff that happens in future episodes. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, Ionized Bastards, Epic Confrontations. You guys find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Give me $1.
I would like to say you can find Spencer at the grocery store, or you can see him hanging out with Give Me $1.
I still can't believe that. It's still one of those stories. It's like,
I've heard that
real?
before. This is the first time I actually saw the picture.
Like that's just one of those pictures and stories that's like, how is like life real?
Spencer met Give Me $1 guy at his job by chance is like one of those, there were still woolly mammoths when they were building the pyramids type sentences.
Like Rosa Parks was still alive, and she passed away in like 2005 or something. So she could have seen like Shrek. She could have seen the Lord of the Rings movies.
That's not
like,
real. No way.
That does sound right. And Spencer just out by chance met Give Me $1 guy. Like we said with the first series, $5 tier patrons and up. Bond's having a strong call it Bond-ambulance. $5 tier and up gets you access to KNR versus series. Reva versus Kanan is out today at time of record, time of whenever you guys are watching this as well, if you give us $5. So go check that out. Very excited for the rest of the season's matchups. We're getting really into some really fun matchups. I know one of the ones on the horizon that I'm super excited for is Count Dooku versus Porter Angle, which I think is my favorite one of the season. So very excited for that. Go check all that out. Go support us on Patreon. And thank you to our $10 patrons, Keandre Lloyd. And to, I thought there was something wrong on the private chat, and it was just Connor clarifying the date of death.
Yep.
And to Paco, or as he's going by on our Patreon, $1.5 billion, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
I want to do it every time now.
I want you to know that I said along with him. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel bad for the people who have these clips memorized, and I do feel a little bad that we've done this to you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We are honored that you have joined us, and may the force be with you. Always.
Sit and sock and get bent.
What'd you say?
Sit and sock and get bent. Good night.
We are honored that you have joined us, and may the force be with you always.
On which planet did
I
Luke
can tell
Skywalker
you everything
and Ben Solo
about this planet,
confront the Knights of Ren in
except
the
its
second
motherfucking name.
Buy merch. Your winner, by way of technical knockout.
We have some beautiful
I am the king. I am the reigning champion. I will always be above you. I am bigger than you. I am wiser than you. I am stronger than you. I am better than you. I am God.
Hi, I'm Jared, the Trivia Loser Jedi.
And I'm Scooter.
And we're here to tell you that we aren't that great at trivia, and I mean we're downright poo-poo at it. Yeah, ever since then I've been dogging Scotty to step back in the ring with me. No questions about El Frono will be asked, and it'll be a good time this April. Now I have this like imaginary rivalry with you in my fucking head, where it's like, I want J-Ro!
Jared, you lost to me in trivia. You're a loser. You're a loser. I will not. You lost to me in trivia.
Jared lost to me in trivia. That charlatan friend, mind you, who has been ducking me and running from me for years now.
Your lust for Jero will destroy you.
And you will learn to rue the day you underestimated the power of the Bi Republic.
Is this your king? Is this your king?
And you think about, the things you applied to content creating and the things that you maybe have held, have you hold to a high standard that people also love. And there's that one little dark spot in all of this. And you're like, man, I can't believe that I've gotten this far and just being a part of a bigger community. But there's this one little black spot in this beautiful Monet of a painting. And it's just the fact that I kicked your ass in trivia. Literally nothing makes me happier.
Praise be to Shaq T.